This is a Travel Market Live podcast takeover, and through Make Tech Work for Your Hotel, we'll be looking at how many systems and platforms do hotels really need. Are hotels able to work with one provider? In this session, we explore solutions and systems, including how to get them to work together, and look at the importance of connectivity, automation, to improve productivity and operational effectiveness. Joining me will be Nick Pilbeam, Commercial Director at Queensway, Niels Mekenkamp, the Director of Business Solutions, Amir at Sendine, Jenna Oakenfall, the Senior Success Manager at Guestline, and Joe Cook, Head of Hospitality Partnerships Europe for Elevon.
Welcome to Travel Market Life, your companion for industry insights and professional business development. Travel Market Life. Join us by webcast, video or podcast.
Technology is currently at the forefront of optimizing the performance of business. Now, when you look at the hospitality market, 40% of travelers want a fully contactless experience for all basic hotel transactions. Businesses that have invested in digitalized technology discovered their workforce spent 17% less time on manual tasks, and their ability to meet customer expectations increased by 35%. While 85% of chief information officers believe digitally empowering their employees can increase revenue growth. A ResDiary report found that nearly half of hospitality venues believe they already have all the software solutions they need. However, interestingly, over a third of the venue operators believe that many may not have what they actually require, and 20% don't have the systems they need at all. So as we look into this, we'll be hearing from our four experts. First up, Nick Pilbeam, the Commercial Director at Queensway. With over 20 years experience, having also worked with British Airways, he's now Commercial Director of Queensway Hotels and Hospitality. Now, Nick, with the portfolio that you're running with Queensway and the number of different types of brands that you work with in that group, you work with a number of different property management systems. Why do you have different property management systems and how does that work effectively for your business?
Ryan, thanks for the invitation to have me here today. Really appreciate it. To answer your question, it really depends on the guest experience that you want for the different brands that you operate. We operate a number of different brands in different segments in the market. So we feel that it's important to have the right tech stack for the guest experience that you want to deliver under a certain brand.
I mean, you have to figure out which one's going to work. And there is a plethora of choices. I know when I've spoken to a few companies that are integrating with property management systems, there are over 200 connections. So that's over 200 systems that are available on the market. So how do you see the wood for the trees?
It's difficult. I think one of the challenges, before you look at all the options out there, of which there are many, we operate 3 PMSs under our family umbrella, is to decide what you want. What is your brand strategy? What is your guest experience hanging off the back of that? And then you go to the tech stack to decide what's best for you.
Wow. Okay. So how do you put that together? What are your starting steps then to be able to do that? Who is involved with having that initial conversation to lay that roadmap out?
It's challenging because in small businesses, independent hotel businesses, you don't necessarily have dedicated technology roles. So some of the expertise can often be a point of difference. So actually, we decided about a year ago to have one of our most experienced team members, who's here in the room today, our lovely Anna, to dedicate a role into commercial technology, focusing on self-check-in, on PMS migrations, on revenue management systems, because we feel that that is such a important area of focus. Is the tech side, but not everyone really understands it that well necessarily.
No, because I mean, you're hospitality experts at the end of the day. You know how to deliver great experiences, but some of us have no idea when it comes to actually putting this tech together. But there's key performance indicators that really help you measure the success of technology. Where do you look at in order to benchmark that performance?
In terms of some of the critical success factors we look for in tech selection, I think the first thing is the tech delivers the guest experience. It actually does. I mean, there's being sold the dream, of course, but actually delivers that guest experience you're looking for. Point number one. The second 3 most important items are integration, integration, integration. Because with all these different systems in quite a complex hotel tech stack, that integration, if that doesn't work, the guests are not going to have the experience you want. And the last, but definitely not least factor, very close to my heart, is data protection. If we think about all of the hotels are putting their PMSs into the cloud and you've got very sensitive personal data out there, securing that data is mission critical for your brand, your reputation, and also, the stickiness with your loyal guests. So I think those would be the areas that are important for us.
Now, I know since joining Queensway, you've been all over the tech, introducing so many new systems and solutions and applications to add opportunities for commercial development. But what's your focus been over the last 12 months?
We've been focusing on three things. So we've done a full tech stack rebuild at our private members club in Sloane Square. So new CRM, new PMS, new RMS, new payment gateway, new everything. So that's been keeping us very, very busy, very interesting. We've also built a proprietary customer data platform to look at our guest behavior. So not revenue behavior, but guest behavior. So repeats, high frequency OTA bookers, how can we really segment that market? And the last thing that we've done is rolled out something quite interesting, letting our guests choose their own room on the floor plan.
Wow.
So complimentary for our direct guests, but actually choose your room number. You can choose your seat on an EasyJet flight. Why can't you choose your room number in the hotel that you're staying at? So we rolled that out about a year ago.
What piece of advice would you give to anyone that is actually going through a full PMS migration?
I think expect the unexpected. It's very complicated. I think planning that very carefully, no rush. Make sure it's worth the effort. If you're going to change PMSs for a marginal gain, I would challenge about whether you would do it at all because the risks outweigh the opportunities. But I think getting that data migration over, the legacy data, the future bookings, I think plan that, rehearse that, dry run that before your guests experience it.
I mean, that whole data point is so interesting because we've spoken to a number of hoteliers that have opened properties over the last couple of years. It's not until year 3 that you start to see the returning guests and start to see the value you can get from them. So having that quality data from, if you're a property that's been around for 50 or 60 years, it's essential.
It is essential. And if you're a guest that stays regularly at a property, you want to be known by that brand, by that property. So we feel that, for example, guests being able to pre-register with us with data that is known just smooths their whole experience, smooths their pre-arrival experience, their arrival experience. A guest wants to cut their key and go to their room. So we feel that whole data management is really important for that journey.
Now, how's this for a segue from data to data? So we go and speak to Niels Mekenkamp, the Director of Business Solutions at Amira Sendine, who's been working in the industry for over 20 years. Graduating from the Hotel School The Hague, he first worked in hotels, after which he moved into hospitality software, working for Hilton, Ideas and Easy RMS. From your perspective, when you're speaking to hoteliers in the industry, why is data so important? And how can this be best managed to commercially benefit the hotel?
So first of all, thank you again for having me. Great to be on your podcast as well as live here in the show. Data is tremendously important, right? We as hoteliers, we have a wealth of data, and being able to use that data gives us tremendous value. Not only data from the PMS, we have data from spa systems, from the solutions like golf systems, Wi-Fi systems, you name it. And if you compare that to retail industry, they tend to try and personalize things. And using that data that we can get from our guests, we can go far further in reality than for instance, in retail. So data is tremendously important, and having access to data is crucial. Absolutely.
It's phenomenal, the level of data you can get from a guest. And because the journey for retail is so different to hospitality, I mean, it could be several weeks, several months before you actually arrive at the property. You've got that experience, which is a memory forever. And then you're taking that away from you. So it is integral to the success of the business.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, it is integral to the success of the business. And just, thinking about what you can do with the data as well, right? Because if I buy something on Amazon, they will advertise similar products to me. They will know what my kind of likes are. We have all of that data on the guests. So what we can do is we can then start engaging with that guest in a far more personalized way. We can, just a simple thing, something that we do, for instance, with confirmation emails, just saying to that return guest, hey, welcome back at the hotel. We're really looking forward to seeing you back with us again. That just changes the tone. Being able to recognize them when they check in, even before they check in. Yeah, Mr. Hayes, welcome back, Mr. Hayes. And just little things like that add a tremendous value to that guest.
So what's the best way hotels should consider getting access to their data within their tech stack?
Well, I think Nick already mentioned it. Integration. Seamlessly integrated systems is integral. It's an essential part of your tech stack, and having real-time data flows between systems becomes essential. Then, in addition to integration, it's also having that data centralized. Nick already spoke about the CDP that they built. Having that data available, consolidated, bringing all of the data together in one unified guest profile is so critical, because with that data, it's not just that you know everything about the guests, but it's also that all of your systems have the same information, and you don't check in at the front desk, change your address, and then go to the spa only to find out that the spa system still has your old address. That should all be integrated. And being able to do that also effectively helps you with your guests. They trust you more. They feel more welcome. They feel more that you engage with them more, that you understand them more. Then they're willing to spend a little bit more as well often.
Now, obviously, I posed this to Nick. How do you identify? What advice do you give to hoteliers to identify the right solutions?
That's always tricky. And I think I always say to hoteliers when they ask me, I always say, the first thing you need to do is identify the problem. What is the problem that you have? What is the problem that you're trying to solve? Or what are you trying to achieve? And quite often hoteliers come to us and they say, just as an example, we need a new booking engine. And then we start digging. Why do you need a new booking engine? Well, we don't see the conversion, or we don't see enough visits to our booking engine. Well, is that the booking engine, or could it be the website, or could it be your online marketing? There can be very many factors. So as a hotelier, before you say, okay, this is what I need, you need to take a step back and say, okay, what is really the problem here? It's lack of demand to my booking engine. What is causing that lack of demand? And quite often during, conversations with hoteliers, they come to us for one solution, and they end up buying another solution because they didn't realize what the real problem was. Second thing, of course, is integration. As I already mentioned, that seamless connectivity. Third point that's also important is, what do you want the outcome to be? Because if you implement a new system, again, sometimes we hear in the industry, well, that implementation wasn't a success. But why wasn't it a success? Well, hoteliers then say, well, it just didn't work very well. Well, what did you expect of the system? And this is, again, going to knowing what you need, but also knowing what you want the outcome to be. So the outcome is a very crucial part of identifying, okay, what does it need, and how do I identify if the implementation was actually a success?
So moving over to Joe Cook now, the head of Hospitality Partnerships Europe at Alavon, which looks after 25% of hospitality card volumes in the UK alone and operates all across Europe as well. Now, payments is a particularly sensitive area for the industry, particularly when it comes to compliance, risk, and security for hotels. How can hoteliers best manage that risk and that technology that's involved?
Hi, Ryan. Nice to see you again. So there's multiple tools that we can support hotels with. I think, again, it comes back to integration. The more integrated all your systems and solutions are, then the better support there is across the business. So there's tools such as, you've got point-to-point encryption, and you've got tokenization, which essentially takes the card data out of their environment. You'll have chargeback and reconciliation support, and then you've got fraud tools as well that sit across. And there's multiple tools that can help hoteliers depending on what you're looking for. But again, I think it comes back to Nick's point of integration.
I mean, it's fascinating when you look at that payment sector, because there are so many different touch points for the guests throughout the guest journey, from the booking and payment online, to going to the restaurant, going to the bar, to just getting a room service. So how do you help supporters successfully achieve that integrated payments system within the hotel?
So I think for us in particular, it's probably partnerships. I don't think that one company itself can particularly deliver everything. So for us, it's working with hoteliers, finding out what solution they're looking for. You've got PMS, you've got gateways, you've got booking engines, you've got kiosks. There's multiple things. So it's bringing all of those partnerships together and integrating them so hoteliers have got access to those solutions.
Bingo. Integrations. Yeah, keyword quite clearly when it comes to technology, and actually, phenomenal. The level of partnerships that's happening behind the scenes in technology to help hoteliers achieve what they need to. Because, as you say, you're the partnership manager. You're there trying to bring all this together, knit it together there. So, what advice then do you give to hoteliers when they're looking towards sort of implementing a new payment technology for preparing for this? Because it's an overhaul. I've seen it at, one of our partner hotels, and it's almost a whole day, maybe, with one property where they have no payment mechanism.
Yep. So the advice would be to broaden the audience. So when you're looking at change anything in the business, it's bringing in different teams. It's not just IT and finance. You could have multiple parts of the business looking to change different solutions further down the line.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost where we went back to Nick's point about, how you're laying a roadmap out to integrate, develop a new tech stack. It's who are all the stakeholders within the business, and as well as the staff need to understand what's happening as part of that.
And you need to future-proof as well, I think. So that's a big thing. So what you have today might not be what you need in 2-3 years' time. You need to be working with partnerships that have the flexibility for you to be able to move into those areas. You could have geographic nuances. So if you've got a hotel here and you've got a hotel in France, it can be completely different. So you need to make sure you've got the different teams and that you're working with a company that you're able to grow with.
What are the key touch points that hoteliers should be putting at the forefront of their minds when it comes to payments today?
Removing friction is probably the biggest thing. Each hotel is going to have different levels of friction, whether that be your staff shortages across hospitality. So you might want a kiosk to help you support check-in. You're losing out on your restaurant to the likes of Deliveroo and Uber Eats. So it's like, do you need an in-room ordering app or a mobile app to help you bring that business back into your hotel? So it's just making sure that you are looking at all of the things that are affecting your business and then finding technology solutions, which there is everywhere, to support those, but also looking at value-added services as well. So you could be data. We've all talked about data, so BI data, things like that. Marketing, there's lots of other things you should be looking at to make sure that you're creating the best guest journey for your customers now and in the future.
Excellent, Jo. Thank you very much indeed. So we've looked at the tech stack from a hotel perspective. We've looked at it from a marketing perspective and data, and we've looked at it from payments. So from a more holistic view, the property management system, Nick obviously talked to us about what the heartache that it can take to actually get that in place. But Jenna Oakenfall, the Senior Success Manager at Guestline. Now, tech isn't a hotelier's forte, really, as we said at the very beginning. But how can it overcome this innate challenge?
Sure. I think the problem with going last is I'm literally going to repeat everything that the other three guys have said. It's great that we're all aligned. So thanks for having me. Second choice, not Andrew Metcalf, sadly. So anybody who's come to see him needs to leave now. So I guess my kind of sentiment, first of all, is that you shouldn't have to be the experts. Hoteliers' expertise is in customer experience. So absolutely utilize tech that is easy to use. Think about how long it would take to onboard a new starter, and definitely partner with people that reach out to you constantly, and what are your guest expectations? They're constantly evolving. So a partner that collaborates with you on your needs as well.
But it's also about that skills that they have in-house. So how can you support them most in order to be able to make sure that they have the right knowledge and experience to maximize the use of these systems?
Yeah, I would definitely say conduct a skills audit. First of all, you don't know where you've got to go until you know where you are. So really, find out where your weak spots are, identify that key tech, and really work and set clear objectives on, how you need to fulfill that kind of gap for sure.
Now, okay, you've made the investment, you've got all these products and services, but the problem is that we can have whenever we subscribe to something is, do we actually use it? Are we maximizing the use of it? There are all these hidden features and functionalities in there. What's the best way for hotels to maximize the investment they're making in that technology?
Sure. I mean, I guess the obvious one is training. We're obviously in hospitality, absolutely so busy all the time. We get stuck in that kind of day-to-day routine, but definitely investing in your people and making sure that they, do that constant refresher training. Somebody that's had a full training session at the beginning, might not necessarily know all of the kind of new features and functionalities that are available. So definitely keep that refreshing. Online workshops, things like that. Just really make sure that your staff know exactly what is available in your PMS and your tech stack.
We've heard from the hotel side. Let's hear from the vendor side. When it comes to that all-important PMS migration, what are the key factors they should consider?
Sure, it's definitely not going to be a shameless sell. It's generic. So absolutely integrations.
Sorry, what?
I didn't copy you, Nick, I swear. I'd pre-prepped this. So what capabilities has that PMS got currently with your integrations? Also, not only what does that PMS do now, but where is it going? So is it going to grow with you? Does it meet your strategies for now and also for the future? Mobile capabilities, of course, obviously the other kind of buzzwords, definitely cloud. So is that a PMS system that you can use your staff out and about, when they're doing their daily roles, and also your management teams as well, and that might not necessarily be in the hotel. And then finally, just echoing Nick's sentiment on data. So how easy is it to not only migrate to the new PMS system, but also the security of the data and any additional kind of, security for signing in and keeping your staff safe as well.
Excellent. Wonderful. Well, thank you very much, firstly, to our guests, our experts today, for sharing some of their insights and experience. What we're going to do now is going to move to an interactive session where you can actually ask questions and discuss a bit more openly about the situation you're in. Maybe you've got some questions, you want to explore some of the points that our experts have raised. So they're all going to be joining you at the different tables to start that chat, and we're going to have a bit of a conversation between tables over the next 10 or 15 minutes. We've been having a bit of discussion amongst the audience here, exploring a bit more about how to make tech work. And I'll go through each of our experts who have been talking to the audience about some of the things that they've been covering, and perhaps dive a little bit deeper into how you can make things a success for your business. So, Gemma, what are the key takeaways that you felt that you've got apart from integrations?
Oh, no, I'm sorry to say, we have literally spent 10 minutes talking about integrations. And it is just all about that. In fact, a little bit of a different spin as to what we talked about earlier. So not just having the integrations available, but actually the choice of the customer being able to select their own integrations. I think you do have some PMS systems that kind of would push their own integrations over perhaps what the customer requirements are. So it's all about, providing the customer with what the PMS does have already, but with also that kind of open mind that if they do come with an integration you don't have, also, being open to that development conversation.
I mean, I've always compared it to, say, the Apple iPhone or the Android, right? You can use what they've got, or you can go out there and download a load of new apps and use those. Yeah,
that's the absolute perfect analogy. I mean, I personally am an iPhone user, but in a hospitality world, that kind of Android mentality for sure is definitely, because in a way you are saying to that customer, you don't have the choice, and that's immediately just not, it's not a great partnership basis for sure. So that has been, integration, sorry, nothing new.
Excellent. Thank you very much indeed. So we'll go over to Nick. Nick, what are some of the key takeaways that you found from the conversation that you were involved with?
So we discussed mainly data, the access to data. But on the other hand, there is so much data in the hotel world. You've got to be careful what you're looking at and not to be overwhelmed. So actually, shout out to Andrews, founder and owner of Orchard Hideaways, if I got that right. If you're considering going glamping, look at Orchard Hideaways. What Andrew was doing, one of the challenges he has is access to demographic data, but he's found this company on the internet where you can put in all of your bookings and postcode. You can get a heat map, a visual heat map of the UK about where your guests are coming from. And what was interesting about that is part of the challenge with as hoteliers, there's so much data, the visualization of that data to then take action is really important and challenging. So I thought that was a great example. And that's about it from our group.
Excellent. I mean, as a hotelier trying to knit all this together, there must be some frustrations you come across when there aren't those integrations in place. How do you look to overcome that?
I think it's about working with the partners, because often the partners will have the roadmap of what's next for their tech and how you can work together as a team, because ultimately your tech stack is only as good as all the collective partners within that. So I would lean on partners, many of which we have here in the room. We work with Guestline as one of our PMS partners. So that would be my go-to, is working as a team to figure it out.
But isn't there frustrations that it's a roadmap and it's like 18 months down the line? How do you overcome that sort of thing?
We're a small business, so we are often a leading adopter of new tech. So that will be our pitch to our suppliers. Look, you're thinking about this new stuff. We'll use it first. We'll prove how it works. And that gives us an advantage, a competitive advantage, and earlier access to those better integrations.
Okay, thank you very much. So over to Joe. I think you were having a bit of a conversation around integrations as well, were you not?
We were. So our whole conversation was around integrations. One of the gentlemen that I was with actually works with all of the PMSs and integrates his solutions to them. And the other one who will do a little pitch for he's got St. Ives Lodge in South Africa, just to add to that. And we were talking about and geographic nuances. So this is South Africa as well. So it's different integrations. Some stuff doesn't work. It's payments potentially doesn't work. So again, it's was all chat about integrations.
I mean, that's fascinating when you've got properties in different locations around the world and you might be needing different access, different data, or different systems don't work in certain markets. And you really have to think how that works across maybe a global portfolio.
Yeah. And that's why I think you need to look at with the products and solutions that you look to partner with, that they, again, back to future-proofing and things like that. It's the areas that you're in now versus the geographical locations you want your hotels to be in the future. Are you working with the right partners? Is the right technology there for you? And you're going to got the flexibility to grow into those spaces with the right partners.
Now, dare I ask, what's your key frustrations with other vendors when it comes to integrations?
That they're not us.
Good enough answer. Thank you very much. Over to Niels. How's your conversation? What was the key points?
My conversation was actually really interesting because I had a one-to-one conversation with Paula from La Cimbali, who is the coffee machine maker. And they actually use data in a very interesting way as well, because they use different coffee beans. And with the coffee beans, they try to determine what is the ideal strength that people want and try to sort of fine-tune strength, ground, etc. That, they make sure that they have the best coffee out there. So I think, that brings back the fact when it comes to data and systems, there's not one that fits all. This is something that if I take it back to our industry or, our tech world, one of the things that we often find is that hoteliers are trying to implement systems where they say, okay, I just want to have the best of the best. But the best of the best might not be the right fit for you. And it's always about that fine-tune. A coffee that's perfect for you is not a coffee that's perfect for me. And a PMS that's perfect for you might not be the PMS that's perfect for me. So it's always getting, that what is the right solution for me? And, back to what I said earlier, it's always going back to what do I really need? What are the critical aspects that I need a PMS or a CRM or a booking engine to have in order to make it, work for me. And that's where I always think if you choose a tech provider, it always should be something that fits into your organization. You as an organization should not have to adapt to the technology too much, because otherwise it's probably not the right fit for you. So I think that's sort of a mutual understanding that we have, is that everything is personal. A hotel is a unique environment, a unique proposition, and therefore, not every tech component is identical to, another hotel down the road.
Excellent. Thank you very much. On that note, going to bring this to a close. You've been listening to Make Tech Work for Your Hotel at the Independent Hotel Show for the Travel Market Life Takeover. Thanks ever so much for joining us. Coming up, we'll be looking at the marketing matrix as we explore a little bit more how to create demand and optimize those relationships with your customers. Thanks ever so much for joining us here today. I appreciate you being here. Thank you.
For more, go to Travel Market Life. The music sensation by Zach Nelson is reproduced under license from Storyblocks. Travel Market Life is a Haynes Marcoms digital marketing agency production, serving the travel and technology industries.